Sometimes I feel like I want to fly without no wings.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Barkoff. I am the Sober Cold Bear, and welcome everybody to the Sober Cold Bear podcast, episode 10. Wherever you are in the world, I'm so grateful that you're here to join us. And joining me today is Steve Spiro from Halotherapy Solutions. I'll give a brief intro, and then we'll get to a conversation. And Steve, you'll kind of go into what you do as well. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really appreciative, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Just to let everybody know, the Sober Cold Bear podcast is not a specifically podcast about recovery. It is a resource. It is a place for help, but it also covers a lot of different topics. We do cover recovery. We do cover sobriety. We do cover cool topics like today, which we're going to cover health and wellness, which is a big thing a big passion that both Steve and I share. And, but we also cover things like mental health. We cover business. We cover entrepreneurship. There's all sorts of different topics that we go into. So sit back and, grab a cup of coffee or whatever it is, whatever tasty beverage, and enjoy. Steve, again, thanks for being here. Steve is the CEO and founder of Halotherapy Solutions. It's the largest salt therapy equipment supplier in the world. He has tremendous international business experience. He's lived in Tokyo and China. He's managed over 60 distributors in 40 countries. So he has global experience. He was on the original startup team of Audible.com, which I'm looking forward to hearing about, which was sold to Amazon for $300 million back in January of 2008. His newest endeavor is into the wellness area for this company called Halotherapy Solutions, which is how we got introduced through a mutual connection, friend of ours, Ted Rubin. And that'll be kind of the topic of today. And I'll just kind of end with, he is a pioneer. He's very well respected in the investor community, the entrepreneurship community. He's all about explosive businesses in the world of consumer and B2B segments. And his true calling is making the lives and health of those around him better with health solutions like what Halotherapy provides. So Steve, thanks for joining. Go ahead and say hi to everybody, introduce yourself, and we'll get going.
Hi, Matt. Happy Friday. That was a great introduction. I don't have much to add. That was fantastic. So thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start with Halotherapy. So obviously we both have, we share a mutual passion in health and wellness. The salt therapy business, I'm still coming up to speed on it. I obviously have, experience in cold plunge and sauna. There's a ton of health benefits, but maybe you could tell us a little bit about Halotherapy and a little bit into, what salt therapy solutions can provide to somebody if they are interested in learning more.
No, great. It's funny. It's relatively new to the United States and most of the world, but it actually started a couple of hundred years ago in the salt mines in Poland. They found that the workers in the salt mines were not getting the same respiratory diseases or problems or conditions as the general population. And salt, as you may or may not know, is just antimicrobial. It's super absorbent, so it really helps clean the lungs and the sinuses, and it's also great for the skin. So people call it a toothbrush for the lungs. So what happened was,
oh, that's cool.
In the Eastern European areas, they kind of simulated what the salt mines were like, and they created these salt caves and salt rooms in the hospitals where people were having respiratory diseases, and it really helped people. And the technology has come to the U.S. about 15 years ago, and it's been great.
So how did you get involved in it? You obviously take very good care of yourself. You're obviously very healthy. Your skin looks great. So you clearly do a lot of wellness. I'm sure you probably do this quite often, if not daily. How did you get involved with it? What did you see in it that was an opportunity for you? And I would like to get into kind of some of the health benefits. Obviously, the Europeans and the Scandinavians got something right when it came to wellness and kind of an early path into that. So I think the U.S. is obviously lagging behind, but hopefully they'll start catching up. So tell us a little bit more about how you got into it and some of the cool benefits from it.
I'd be happy to do that. Most of my life has been serendipitous. It's one of my favorite words. I had no plans to get into the industry. One of the things I did, as you pointed out, I've spent a lot of time living overseas and traveling overseas, sometimes for months at a time. And whenever I do, since people help me along the way, I join the local kind of entrepreneurial clubs in whatever country I'm in and give basically free consulting to young entrepreneurs. And and again, this was literally it's our 10-year anniversary here at Halotherapy Solutions. I was helping a young woman in her entrepreneurial venture. She had this company, it was a tiny little company. I helped her out a little bit, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we were great business partners. Again, I had no plans on getting into the business, but I saw the incredible benefits and I saw the financial return as well.
Sure.
It's funny, when we first started the company 10 years ago, it was really focused on, let's call it older people with bad respiratory diseases like COPD or asthma. And
Sure.
it's interesting because of COVID. I almost hate to admit it. Our business really exploded after that because people became more and more aware in the importance of their respiratory immunity and hygiene. Now it's, halotherapy is again like a toothbrush for the lungs. You don't need to have a disease, you just do it. And it's great for whether they have seasonal allergies, everything's, pollens counts are high, or pollution, colds, bronchitis. We also work with a lot of athletes in terms of recovery because the
Yeah.
lungs are, the better they can perform or train. And it's also great for the skin. It really works well with things like psoriasis and eczema. So it has a
Mm.
purposes now. And you mentioned, your podcast also focuses on stress, which everybody has, maybe more so today than ever. And again, if you're really concentrating on your breathing and just getting your lungs healthier, it helps with stress as well.
Yeah, and congrats on 10 years. I actually saw your post on, I believe it was LinkedIn and a couple other platforms about a month ago. Just to paraphrase, the company has about 30 folks globally, that you have hundreds of partners. You have, installations at a lot of different mediums, spas, wellness centers, gyms. And you talked a little, and there was this video that you posted where you were, standing in front of a Peloton bike, I believe. Tell me a little bit about this mini series that you're going to be putting out in the upcoming weeks. Have you started to put that out? What type of content are you doing around that? Is it kind of to educate? Is it just like success stories? What are you doing around that?
Yeah, so the mini series is really focused on our kind of 10-year journey, and we've kind of put little video clips together. We just started about some of our original employees, and thankfully, about 98% of the people that have ever been with the company have stayed with the company. It's a really strong family culture. Everybody, I personally, as the leader, make sure that our employees are happy and contributing. And so we have very, very little turnovers. The miniseries kind of starts off with that kind of theme of people wanting to be here and all the contributions they've made. Also,
Amazing.
the early customers, the early products. So it's just a journey of thanks to the people that have brought us to where we are today. And I always tell people, I really believe we just scratched the surface, since halotherapy is still not that well known. But yeah, so the upside in the future is even going to be much larger.
I love that. I love that you're not talking about what halotherapy does in terms of its products. You're talking about the people that helped you get to this phase in the life cycle of the company, and making sure that those folks get a tip of the cap in terms of the accolades that they've been able to do. And it clearly speaks to your leadership, Steve, who in my research and in folks that I've talked to, and even talking to Ted, right? Like you're all about the human interaction. You're all about humility. You're all about transparency. There's no ego with you. Even when we first spoke, right? You're just as genuine as you come across. And those are qualities that I think a lot of folks are always striving to have. What is your secret? What is it that you do that makes you? What's your superpower that allows you to do what you do?
Well, thank you. That was quite the. I'm blushing here, but thank you. So it's interesting. You mentioned that I was on the founding team of Audible. I didn't even realize I was wearing my Audible shirt today. I got it out of the washer and dryer before this, I guess.
There are no accidents when it comes to what we wear.
I
It just kind of happens.
Audible started over 25 years ago, and we sold it, like you said, in 2008. So it's been whatever 17 years. Oh, so I've started 7 other companies since then. And I always challenge myself to go into different industries. I've been in the nutrition business, the music business, helping military veteran business. I've done a lot of different businesses. And I always realize when I start, I do that to challenge myself. But the first thing I do is create an advisory board, and I give equity to those advisors so they are the subject matter experts. I'm kind of like a grand conductor of an orchestra. there's a lot I don't know. I purposely put myself in situations where I don't know anything. That kind of has kept me humble and hungry to learn. And I rely on all these experts that I kind of weave together to create very good businesses.
And I think to your point, you know, life is about constantly reinventing yourself. It's about, you know, putting yourself into situations where, you know, you are challenged to learn. You're challenged to learn from others. Just because, you know, you have the side, you know, the title of a CEO doesn't necessarily make you the, the know-it-all of everything, right? It's who you have, you know, working and with you and along with that journey. And it's also, you know, what expertise are you bringing, are others that, you know, you trust, or you're bringing those folks to the table that can not only, you know, advance the business, but can you know, advise you and give you the proper coaching to become, you know, the best version of what you do. You obviously are an operator. So let's talk a little bit about what are some of the characteristics that you see in others that you like to hire.
That's
And
a great question. In fact, kind of amplifying what you said, it's almost the opposite of me thinking I'm a know it all. I assume I know nothing. And when I hire people always that know something way more than I do. Again, like I said, I'm kind of the conductor or the synthesizer, right? So the qualities have to be smart, and it doesn't have to be book smart. It just have to be smart, passion. You can't teach passion, and culture. I mean, people have to fit into the culture that I'm creating. What you know, and they have to be super strong. You know, integrity. You know, values,
sure.
trust. Like those, I don't care if the person is if somebody doesn't have those qualities, but they're really smart or really whatever, they're not going to fit in my company. It's like everybody in the boat has to be rowing synergistically, and that's what I look for. And for the most part, you know, 95% of the people that I've hired over my career have fit because I spent a lot of time up front making sure and checking references. But the ones that don't, they go. They don't fit, and I don't want them, and you know, I don't keep them.
What's let's do a little bit of a role play here. What's a question that you like to ask when you meet somebody to join your company, or what's if you're interviewing somebody for your advisory team? What's a good question that you ask of them that allows you to quickly discern who they are as a person, their character, you know, that type of thing?
One of the first questions I ask is, "What's your biggest failure?"
Mm.
I want to know people because if you haven't failed, and I have failed a lot, right? And some of the best entrepreneurs have failed a lot. If you haven't failed, you're not pushing the envelope. And I need to have people that are pushing ahead. And I always say that like mistakes are okay if you make them once, just can't make them twice, and they can't be catastrophic. But I talked, and again, if people aren't willing to admit that they failed, their ego is probably too big also to fit in also.
You know, that's actually a really important point. You know, because in sobriety and addiction, the solution to not handling things is actually drinking alcohol and using drugs. Because your character defects are causing you to have an ego. Your character defects are causing you to behave inappropriately. You know, talk down to folks, yell at people, be disrespectful. And it's because your own ego is getting in the way, and it's your character defects that are coming out. What the program teaches me, and it teaches me that, you know, I have to show up as the best version of myself. And if I show up as the best version of myself, then ultimately, you know, hopefully those character defects aren't coming out when I'm faced with a difficult situation. And in business, as we both know, there's challenging situations each and every single day. It's how you handle it. It's how you deal with a situation in a healthy way that allows you to push forward rather than regress.
Well said. Yep, I totally agree.
Let's talk a little bit about salt therapy and the combination of salt therapy and sauna. Tell me a little bit about how your systems work. Educate me like I'm somebody that's trying to, you know, that I'm interested in buying something from Halo.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about how they work, how they operate. You know, it looks like, you know, if you go and see any of your solutions, it looks like just kind of a general infrared red light type of setup, but obviously there's the salt piece to it. How does all that work? How does it all come together? How is it engineered, Steve?
No, that's a great question. Let me take one step back because as I mentioned,
Sure.
when we first started 10 years ago, and even up to 5, 6 years, nobody really knew what halotherapy was. It's still a little bit of an unknown. So, what we wanted to do was look at other fast-growing modalities like infrared saunas was very hot. It still is. No pun intended.
Absolutely still is.
6 years ago.
I
So,
like the pun.
so we went and looked at who is the world's best infrared sauna company, and we found Clearlight Jacuzzi out of Berkeley, California. We believed
Yep.
were the quality. There's some other good products also, but we thought they were the best. I got introduced through a friend of mine to the CEO. Told him what we wanted to do. He loved it. We created a custom engineered sauna using their basic platform and technology. But as you probably know, salt can be corrosive, is corrosive.
Yes, absolutely.
So we needed to create these, we call them halo protectant seals in the sauna. We also integrated our technology into their control panel. So it seemed like one whole product, not just something slapped on. So it's been a phenomenal partnership. Clearlight's been an incredible partner. And so that's how it started. And basically, when I talk to people now who are looking at saunas, whether for businesses or home, and we service both, I don't understand why people would only want a sauna. Sauna has great benefits of detoxification, muscle recovery, lots of things. But if you compare it with a halo generating salt therapy, not only are you getting the physical benefits of an infrared sauna, but you're also getting the respiratory and skin benefits of halotherapy. So it's an incredible synergistic combination.
Yeah, I mean, salt therapy helps remove airborne particles. I was reading up on it, did my research a little bit. It takes a lot of the pollutants out of the air. It takes a lot of the pollutants and elements in your own respiratory system, and it helps repair that. Kind of. And by the way, you should trademark a toothbrush for your lungs.
Good idea.
Like the visual aspect of a toothbrush in my lungs, albeit probably a little bit painful, depending on the brush type. But I mean, it improves things like, I would assume, like breathing, sleep, mood, all sorts of, and of course when we get sick, right? When we get colds, flus. Now I've been doing sauna and cold plunge for a couple years now, and I'm not saying this because I'm not a doctor. I obviously tell my doctor what I do from a medical perspective. I do sauna and cold plunge every single day. I have not gotten a cold. I haven't gotten the flu. I haven't gotten sick. I get, stuffy nose every now and again. I've been around folks that have had, pretty gnarly illnesses, and I have not gotten sick. I haven't had, and I haven't had a flu shot. I haven't had any shots, in a couple of years now. And I equate that directly. My blood pressure's gone way down. My blood pressure now is like 125/60. So I've seen the health benefits of this, and I try to talk to others about it. But I mean, it takes one thing to talk about. It's another thing to actually do it and understand it and live it.
No, and to your point, salt therapy is great when you have a bad cold or allergies, but it's also great, like just like you said with the plunge and the sauna, as preventive. I don't get sick either, right? I do halotherapy 5 or 6 times a week as well. So yeah, so I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's fully preventative. And I think, folks are starting to wake up to realize that, there's things that they can cut out of their lives to drive long-term, health, right? Like alcohol is one great example. I know a lot of folks that, they see the pod and the podcast, or, I meet them and I tell them about what I do. They're like, "Oh, I stopped drinking." And it's not because they're alcoholics. It's because they know that there are certain things that they put in their system that was counterproductive to their health, right? Then there's kind of what we're talking about. It's the regenerative type of modalities, and it's the things that we can do to kind of future proof ourselves and prevent ourselves from, getting ill, down the road, because toxins and things build up in your system, and those can lead to very serious illnesses like the cancers and the diabetes and the dementias and everything else.
Yeah, again, it's exactly like you said. Whatever goes in, it's bad. You're going to wind up at the doctor's or a hospital or on lots of drugs. If you put good stuff in or you avoid the bad stuff, there's a better chance. Nothing's guaranteed, but you give
Of course.
yourself a better chance, right? So
Yeah. So you co-developed this with Clearlight. I would assume Clearlight is still kind of your go-to-market partner for the products itself. So when you actually buy something from Halo, it is a co-branded Clearlight sauna?
it's not a co-brand; it's a private label. They've custom engineered, but it has their same super quality, warranty, all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, no Clearlight Well, great company, well run. What I would assume there's obviously, obviously in the wellness space, right? It's very easy to just bring something to market. It's another thing to actually have IP, and so you clearly have an IP component to this. So over the years, what have you done around the IP? What I would assume you have some patents that are built into your technology. What have you done around that, or is it just more of like kind of designing things, doing design patents, things like that?
So the patent, one patent we work with is on our Halo Red product, and that's the Halo generator combined with our red light booth. So that's the one
Okay.
we have. Again, maybe I'm old school, but I've always been driven by winning by execution and pioneering and doing new things. Competition doesn't really bother me or scare me that much. I just out execute people. But we do have a patent with the Halo Red, which is
I
nice to have.
mean, when you do have competition, that just says that you're executing correctly and you're on to something that others want, which is why folks enter the space, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, so tell me a little bit about kind of what components are inside of these saunas that allow for salt to be released, but also doesn't allow it to be corrosive to the actual equipment.
Yeah, so when we first designed this with Clearlight, again, 5, 6 years ago, we worked together to develop these seals around protecting the infrared panels themselves. So that's what it is, and that's what it does.
So I have an infrared sauna, and what you're saying is inside of or connected to the actual infrared itself, there are seals that allow for salt not to get in. They can certainly, I would assume, get on the infrared themselves because you have to expose the infrared for that heat, but the salt can't actually get into the working
no,
elements of.
again, we sell Halo generators to for people with home saunas, and the amount of salt is so microscopic and so little that the smaller the particles, it works the best. It probably will never affect a home sauna. We sell to gyms, tanning salon, spas that have 8 to 12 sessions per day, 6, 7 days a week, and over time, maybe shorter period of time, that could affect the electronics of a sauna. So that's why really the Halo Protect and Seals work for the commercial environment.
So you sell the full sauna that has it. You don't sell the separate salt system. Is that correct?
Well, what's your definition of the salt system? Let's call that a Halo generator.
When I look at the site, right, and I see the Halo sauna,
Mhm.
that's a full unit that has everything in it, and that's inclusive of the halotherapy
Right.
salt solution built in. Correct? So you buy the whole thing.
Right, but we also sell the Halo generator separately. Sometimes people um, build these beautiful salt caves or salt rooms, or like I said, for the home people, they can put a little hole. We show them how to do that for their home sauna. So yeah, we do sell it separately.
Oh, that's really cool. So if you have that's actually really great because obviously these systems aren't inexpensive, right?
Yep.
They cost a lot of money. I mean, I just, obviously I have Cold Bear Plunge, which is my cold plunge and sauna company, and we're talking about doing some stuff together, right? But I have customers that spend 10, 20, $30,000 on a sauna.
Mhm.
You don't want to have to, sell that sauna and buy another sauna. You want to be able to complement it with other solutions, other modalities, as you described, that includes, what halotherapy provides, which is great. So that's great that you have. And apologies, I actually thought I didn't realize that you had a separate system that you could provide to folks that already have. So for folks out there, if you do have a sauna and you want to add salt therapy, halotherapy has a solution for that. So that's great.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about how you work with others in terms of community, how you give back, what is kind of some of the elements of giving back and service back into your communities and to helping others. What is your vision around that, and how do you incorporate that into your daily?
Yeah, when we first started this conversation a few minutes ago, I talked about the employee retention and how we have our own values and mission, integrity. One of our core pillars is giving back. This is core to me. And I believe it's good for the soul and it's good for business.
Something's happened, Steve. The recording stopped.
Sorry,
Okay.
somebody was.
No, that's okay. Start over, please. Let's make sure we catch you. Go back to where you were starting. I think it
Okay.
broke up once you got your call.
Yeah, so giving back is absolutely core to me personally and core to the business. I'm a firm believer in giving back is good for the soul and good for business. So as part of our kind of mission, values, integrity, all about our company, our pillars, giving back is one of our core pillars. And I strongly believe, and the company believes, that wellness and health should not be a luxury or a privilege just to people that are rich, and that it's really important that wellness is more democratized. So we do a lot in that area. One example is we work very closely with the Urban League. It's
Mm,
interesting that the Black population has a very much higher incidence of respiratory problems than the non-Black community or non-minority community. Some of it, frankly, is genetic. Some of it is environment. There's a whole bunch of reasons. So we work really closely with the Urban League. Um,
I love that.
to provide some free services. In February, I guess it was a couple of months ago, another big one of my other companies that I had started, which I mentioned, was a company to help military veterans after they came back from Iran and Afghanistan. That was about 10 or 12, 15 years ago. That to kind of it was like a search or executive search company to take their tech skills and get them aligned with tech companies that I was very connected with. So I'm a big believer in giving back to the military community. So we were invited. We were only one of two wellness equipment companies invited by Prince Harry and his team at something called the Invictus Games. But 11 to 12 years, Prince Harry started it. It was in Vancouver this year. It was for 23 countries, all disabled military veterans, literally no
Wow.
legs, no arms, blind, massive PTSD. And we gave free services for 10 days to 550 athletes and 1,000 family members. It was
Wow.
so rewarding. And again, we were helping them breathe better. They have lots of rest. One of the guys said to me, he goes, he came for 2 days straight. He goes, 2 days with you was like getting rid of 7 years of Afghanistan dust. And, it was just,
Wow.
it was one of the best quotes I ever heard. So, yeah, so
Wow.
and they've invited us to the Warrior Games in Colorado in July, which is basically the
Wow.
U.S. equivalent. And Prince Harry invited us to, in 2 years, where it's held again in the UK. So giving back is just fundamental. Like I always tell people, I love my 5-star and 6-star resorts that charge $250 for a 50-minute massage. But I'm fundamentally a big believer in everybody should be able to feel good.
That's amazing. I want to learn more about that event in July. We should definitely talk more about this offline for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health for me is a big topic that I like to talk about. Obviously, as a product company in terms of halotherapy, you help a lot of those that are struggling, not just with health problems, but this obviously helps mental health problems. And
Mm-hmm.
as you just mentioned, you worked with the Invictus Games folks that have PTSD and other, mental struggles. Have you done any studies around what halotherapy does in terms of its solutions to help understand, or have you partnered with organizations to help understand what the direct implications and the factors of what, halotherapy solutions can do to improve mental health? Is that something that, and if not, is that something that you've ever been interested in doing down the road?
So, I was the chairman. There's an incredible organization called the Global Wellness Institute, and every year they put on a Global Wellness Summit, and it's the 500 top experts in the world in health, longevity, wellness. It's an incredible organization run by
Hmm.
Susie Ellis, and I was a chairman of one of their, I think, 25 initiatives. The initiative was all about halotherapy, so I was the chairman for 7 years, and we did a number of studies based on respiratory benefits, and we also did touch on stress relief too. So people generally go for salt therapy because if they have cold or cough or something like that, or for a skin condition. But the third main reason they go is for stress relief. So we did do some studies, but I'd be very interested in doing more. And again, we were trying to work. We made some unbelievable contacts in the military. We actually have our booth that we had there at SOCOM, which is Special Operations Command in Tampa, Florida, and a lot of their the military personnel and staff are using it now, and they report tremendous benefits as far as just being able to relax.
That's awesome. I actually have doubt. I've actually purchased the wellness economy rankings.
Mm-hmm.
I've downloaded a lot of their reports, so knowing that you're affiliated with that is huge. It's so cool to talk to somebody that is the byproduct of this is of your organization, Steve, is that you're running a great organization, but all the other things that you're passionate about are what is how you lead.
Hmm.
That's a unique quality that I wish more leaders could see and be able to do. Oftentimes it's about profit margin,
Hmm.
shareholder value, shit like that, right?
And again, that is fundamental to me. And again, it's probably my number one priority. It's kind of like when they say when you get on an airplane and the oxygen mask falls, you got to grab it first, right? So you can help others. Profit is the highest priority. Giving back makes you feel good and the company feel good and the employees feel good, and it's led to so much business that I frankly never expected. I didn't go to the Invictus games to do business. I did it to give back, but we met
Right.
so many people from around the world that are buying our equipment because they got to try it and they appreciate the fact that 3 or 4 of my people volunteered, spent all our we volunteered there for 10 days when we could have been doing lots of other things. So the two to me are very connected. They like yeah, it helps business.
Well, it's a byproduct, right?
It's a
A
buy.
byproduct the byproduct of being a good human being, of being a good leader, of
Yeah.
being, of serving your employees well, doing service, helping organizations and bring, like what you've been talking about. The byproduct of that is things that you don't expect. But when you do
Yeah.
actually good work, that's the reason I started this podcast, Steve. I
Mhm.
started this podcast not for Instagram followers, not for, YouTube subscribers. A lot of people, do that. And if that's what they want to do. A lot of folks put out, Instagram handles to do that. I did this because I am, I have a sobriety and recovery program that I'm operating. And I didn't want to just talk about sobriety and recovery. I wanted to talk about all sorts of different topics like what we're talking about today, wellness. But the message that you're saying is if you do really good work, you treat people well, you go to things, you go to events and provide your service at, little to no charge.
Mhm.
The benefit, the output
Mhm.
of those inputs are so positive that it ends up yielding results that you never expected, but you
Uh,
weren't thinking about that going into that. Is that a fair thing to say,
no, for
Steve?
sure. And I'm also a big believer. It sounds a little foo philosophical, but I'm also a big believer in karma. You do good, and good things come back. Again, I go in there with no expectations. I just know if I put good things out there, good things are going to come back.
That's amazing. And it just validates a lot of things that I live my life by. Obviously I'm constantly striving to challenge myself to do new things. I had never done a podcast before. This is, obviously the 10th episode, but I did it because I wanted to do something different and I wanted to create a platform where I could talk to others that I would never in a million years, Steve, would I have, had a quick conversation, to catch up with Steve with Ted Rubin and tell him what I'm up to and tell him that I've got a cold plunge and sauna company. He's like, oh, you should meet my buddy Steve. And we get connected and we start talking. And all of a sudden, here we are on a podcast, talking about your company, your success, but more, just how good of a human being you've been and the pay it forward aspect of how you operate and what that has done for others over the
Hmm.
years.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's. I probably had good parents also. So
That helps. That helps. So you're in Florida currently, but you also operate and travel in a lot of different areas. Where are you going to be, over the next couple of months as it relates to your business, as it relates to events? You talked about this event in July. What does kind of your summer look like as with Halo?
yeah, I just got back a few days ago from Estonia, Berlin, and Amsterdam. Estonia, that's where our factory and engineering team is. Berlin, one of our best distributors and one of our other business partners is there. And Amsterdam was just to have some fun. So, July, you said I'm going to the Warrior Games for 10 days at the end of July, and we have a whole bunch of trade shows or speaking engagements that myself and some of my business partners do. Like we're very close with a great company called Athletech. They're the leading media company in the fitness space, and they put on a lot of innovation summits. The next one is in New York City in mid-June. So we're excited about that big event. And we also have a number of large franchise companies we work with, like Woodhouse Day Spas, The Covery, all kinds of Equinox, all kinds of gyms and tanning salons. And they have a lot of national private events for all their franchisees or multi-locations. So we're going to be doing probably 6 to 10 events between now and the end of the year with them as well.
Let me ask you a question on that. Have you ever considered, because the sauna and cold plunge space is a hot commodity. There's a lot of companies that are out there that are doing that. There's even companies like Hotworks, right, that provides fitness and wellness inside of a sauna. You go in, you do a 20-minute session on a bike or weights. That founder is he's out of I believe he's out of like New Orleans or somewhere in the South. Have you ever thought about expanding and putting and rolling out like Halo franchises or Halo destinations that folks that can't necessarily afford to buy a Halo but also want to experience the benefits of that? Have you ever thought about doing that, or are you going to continue to partner with the organizations that are already out there?
Okay, so I'll answer the question, but then I just want a clarification. There are literally hundreds of thousands of spas, tanning salons, yoga studios, chiropractor, acupuncture, like gym. There's hundreds of thousands. They
Yep.
already have great businesses through space. We have a small footprint. You put a sauna. It's very, very simple. So that's our core business.
Got it. So you never want to go into opening up, renting a space or going triple net or what have you. You want to continue to go through the existing businesses that already have that space, and you can just go in there and do that.
Again, whether you want to call it channel conflict or customer conflict, I don't want to set up my own business where I'm competing against my customers either. Like Hotworks or
Sure.
Spiro, all great companies, but they're a franchise network. They don't sell their equipment to competing companies, so they're very different business model.
No, I love it. I love it. It was just more of a general question. Cool. I think we could talk for hours about wellness and what Halo is doing. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast and being a part of this, Steve. How can folks get in touch with your organization?
Yeah, they can come to our website. It's halotherapysolutions.com. They can email me at steve@halotherapysolutions.com. Always looking for good people like yourself, Matt, to chat with. Businesses that want to buy or other companies that want to partner. One of the other things that let me quickly mention, we launched a new service about 3-4 months ago called Halo CBD. So we have a patent on, but you talk about patents. I was thinking about the hardware, but on the compound side, we've combined Halotherapy, pure pharmaceutical salt, with CBD. So again, you think about the synergy of the benefits of CBD and salt, and it's really interesting. Like CBD, if you take it as a tincture, the bioavailability might be 15 or 20%, or a gummy. Like it's just not very high bioavailability. But when you do it through respiratory, it's much, much higher. And when you combine it with salt, the salt propels the CBD deeper into your respiratory system. So it's been a huge success. And we're actually looking at potentially doing other, let's call them nutraceuticals combined with salt as well, as we have a patent on that too. So very exciting things about to come with.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm doing a quick search, and as you speak here, there's a number of different areas where you've got, trademarks. So you've got Halo CBD. It's a revolutionary patented blend that combines highly effective USDA 100% organic CBD with pure pharmaceutical salt. You have ACT, which is also trademark, aerobic cannabinoid therapy. It's a process by which CBD combined with pharmaceutical grade salt is dispersed through the use of Halotherapy Solutions. This is cool, man.
Yeah, and we're looking to expand that, and we're looking to kind of create this new. This is the first time you're going to hear it. Halo Nutritherapy, where we can combine halotherapy and nutraceuticals into an incredible, simple bioavailability compound that you can do through our either commercial Halo generators and salt rooms, or through our small little Halo Pocket, which is basically a little pen pocket machine that you can take with you anywhere.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, Steve, thank you so much for being here. Obviously, we hadn't met before. We'd spoken, but we haven't met face to face.
I feel like we're friends now. We got the TED
Absolutely.
Connect, right? So yeah, anytime.
Well, hopefully, I asked a number of good questions that kept you engaged, and it sounds like
they were great. They were great questions. So yeah. So, and I love not being prepared in advance. I rather just be honest from what's on my brain, and heart. So
yeah. Well, I appreciate your honesty and your transparency. I'm still learning in terms of like how to do these podcasts in terms of.
You're great. You're great at it. This was very authentic. So it's great.
Well, thank you. I try and kind of start with a topic, and based upon kind of what's being discussed or said, I try and pivot my way through and guide the conversation. So I appreciate your willingness to have this conversation today. I'm going to go. We'll go ahead and sign off, but just to let everybody know, and Steve, thank you again, man. I'm so grateful to know you, and I'm so grateful that we're now connected, and I'm looking forward to staying close to you and your team. As we go forward. This wraps episode 10 of the Sober Cold Bear podcast. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join. Just to let everybody know, sobriety and recovery is a daily practice. It's something that just can't happen. I am in an active recovery and sobriety program. So if you think that you have a problem, you likely do have a problem. So, ask for help. Ask your loved one, ask your best friend, go online, go to a meeting. AA meetings are a terrific way to meet others that are experiencing similar challenges that you're having. I always say this, but it's okay not to be okay, because it's how we handle these situations that intuitively cause us to drink or use. Thanks again, everybody. Steve, thanks again to you. I'm super grateful. We'll go ahead and say goodbye, and hope everybody enjoyed this, and talk soon.
Sometimes I feel like I want to fly without no wings. I elevate inside my mind, and sometimes